your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good thing to say I stabbed and didn't stand up for something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can tell because there's a sign behind me that says so. Please subscribe on YouTube. Give it a like. Give it a share. Happy that you're all joining me tonight. My guest this evening, he has been on the channel before, and he's back today because we got ourselves involved in a little bit of Twitter drama together. Don't we love the Twitter drama? And he's got some new songs and a sale going on right now for his music. We're going to talk about all of that. Welcome back, Brad, 5 times August to the show.
Thanks so much.
Happy January 6th.
You know what? Thank you so much for having me on your show on this important day that was worse than 9/11.
You know, usually I treat January 6th like a holiday. I'm like, no, I'm not going to work. I'm just going to kick my feet up and relax and open my January 6th presents. But today I was like, no, we got to have Brad on. So
thanks. Yeah, I've been sitting around crying all day thinking about that day. No, I wasn't.
Just hoping that AOC doesn't have PTSD from it, hoping that Nancy Pelosi is safe.
I can't imagine what they went through that day. And we'll never know. But here we are.
Oh,
what was
gosh.
it? 4 years? 4 years ago already?
4 years ago. It
Wow.
really flew by.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that day because I was driving. I remember that day because it happened, but also because we were driving back we were on vacation, a family vacation. We were driving back from Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and it was raining down. And we were listening to what was happening on the radio, and the reception was really bad. And it sounded like we were tuning into like 1930s radio. and it was such a crazy experience because we're like, what's going on? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. But, you know.
Wow. It was crazy too. Like I was there just to cover the event and like maybe get some interviews and just kind of like look and see, because I was never a big rally or protest person. And I had been to the 2 prior to January 6th. And I just was like, wow, the media is really not covering this at all. And if they do, they're not covering it fairly. And I just thought that January would be another Trump rally, but people were extra fired up because of the whole fortification issue. So, and I was watching over some of my footage this morning that I had, and it was very chill. There were chill dogs in costumes. There were some chill kids there. There was just chill people meandering around. Really, I always thought the biggest problem with January 6th was not enough places to go to the bathroom, not enough porta potties.
Yeah, that's usually the problem at these things.
Yeah.
Did you go to Defeat the Mandates about a year later in DC?
No.
So I played at Defeat the Mandates. It was on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and it's about a year later. And it was crazy because I remember like everybody was like, oh my gosh, you're going to a rally in DC. You better be careful. But like you were saying, it was one of there was about 40,000 people that went to this thing. And it was all during COVID, and all the frontline doctors that spoke out were there and everything. And it was the most peaceful, loving event that I had ever been to in my life. And then the first mention in the press, like that evening, was like, extremist rally of conservatives get together to rally against vaccines. But it wasn't anything like that. And so I can only imagine that, what we haven't seen from January 6th, if you weren't there that day, like how messed up that story is to the average person.
And I hate how it will probably, and I haven't looked in a history book. I haven't looked in a textbook. I'll have to, my teacher friends that are listening, if you have access to books that are being printed that like maybe, I don't know, I'm sure you talk about it with your class. I want to know what's in there. And I feel like I already know. And I feel like it's going to just forever be painted in history as like this horrible day. And it really wasn't. It was really, again, biggest problem, not enough bathrooms. I think maybe people wanted to go inside because they had to do a number 2 and the porta potty.
Oh!
They weren't trying to stop the certification. They just had to go to the bathroom. God, we all know that feeling.
Yeah, that's all it is. I would rush into the Capitol if I really had to go myself. So, yeah.
Especially if you heard like, wow, maybe Nancy Pelosi has a really nice bathroom in her office. I could see somebody just wanting to take a peek and, get a number 2 or 3 out.
Do you think that they have their own bathrooms, like each their own, or do they have to share? Because
I would guess like the likes of Nancy Pelosi would have her own,
like in their office or something. Because I imagine
yes, so because I imagine she has like a nice medicine cabinet full of her Metamucil, full of like her extra faces, makeup, whatever she needs, her high heels. Did you know she needed hip surgery in Germany recently?
No.
When I heard that a Pelosi tripped and fell wearing high heels, I thought for sure it was her husband, Paul. But it was it was old Nancy.
Yeah, she's a character. But see, I just wonder, because like if you're working in the Capitol and like you go to the ladies' room and you're in there and you're doing your thing, and then like you're hearing something next door, and you're like, ooh, that's bad. And then you both exit at the same time, and then it's Nancy Pelosi. And you're like, oh my gosh, do I tell people about this? I've got to tell people about this. That was terrible.
Must know who amongst them takes like bad number 2s, I would want to know if, what's it called? Are they called the swarm, the squad? I would want to know if the squad, stinks up the joint or not.
They go together, right? Like they all go to the bathroom together, like a squad would do.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, we'll never know because they'll never, at this point, I'll probably never get a job in DC. But I don't want to, because as I was saying, like the other day, the energy in DC is not good. It's dark. It's cold. Even if you're there on a nice day, I don't care. It's like, it's an evil city with not good people in it. If you're drawn to be in DC, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're power hungry.
That's funny because I was talking to some friends of mine, like going like, like what kind of opportunities are coming up in this administration? Because I've been doing, I do my music and stuff, but I've also done other projects for educational shows and things like that. And I work on a show called Star Spangled Adventures that Ben Carson does. And so anyway, I was kind of like thinking like, oh, are there any opportunities for like, education or anything like that? So I've been talking to some friends, and I talked to a recruiter that is what's the term for it? I don't know. Going through applications or whatever for people in DC. They work for DC, and I talked to him about my background.
Like a recruiter.
A recruiter, yeah. And she was like, well, based on what you told me about yourself and what I know about DC, and she works in DC, she was like, you would hate it. You would not want any job here. And I'm like, yeah, I figured I wouldn't. It wasn't that I was looking for like a job per se. I was sort of looking for like some sort of freelance opportunity. But like, it's so funny because the people that work there even like, don't come here.
Yeah, I can't. I would never do that.
To have to move there and live there, no.
It's like LA for political people, basically.
Yeah. I don't like politics that much at all. In fact, I wasn't even a political person prior to all the COVID stuff. And then, the music that I've put out is considered protest music, but I don't really think of it as anything controversial or even political. It's just.
How does that make you feel when people go, "Oh, 5 times August, that's protest music"?
You went political. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I get it. It is, everything's political now. So if you say anything against the mainstream, you're making a political statement. But I'm just, at the end of the day, I'm just a songwriter who's a dad who wanted to speak up for his kids and put some common sense into the world through his music or something. I don't know, but it's not like, it's like I've got to make a political statement.
Right. Any music can be protest music. It depends who's doing the protesting. I mean, like, I'm going to blast Mariah Carey next protest I go to. I wanted to talk about our good friend on The View, Sunny Hostin, what her thoughts were on January 6th, because, she was there. She understands. She's smart.
Who would better understand than Sunny?
Who better to tell us about January 6th than Sunny? And I don't know what's going on with Whoopi's haircut. This is some sort of, it's like a crew cut. It's like a military haircut with dreadlocks.
Whoopi Goldberg always has at least 2 haircuts on her head.
Who is she trying to look like? She's trying to look like a butch basketball coach today. Oh my God, here we go.
What do we do? I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had some.
And first of all, anytime somebody on the left says we need to find moral clarity, it's like, no. You just want more people to align with how you think. That's really it. And like, are people on the right guilty of that too? But sure, we all want people to think like us. But then when she explains it, you see that she's full of shit.
Someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on, because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget, because past becomes prologue.
The Holocaust,
if you forget any race.
Child slavery, and January 6th, the top 3.
Hiroshima. Yeah.
Wow.
Why? You know why she's doing this? I think because it's like, you guys lost. You lost bigly, okay? Trump won the popular vote. Trump won the electoral. He won everything. MAG is coming back in a big way, and all you dorks have to hang on to is your version of what you think January 6th was.
Yeah. They have. Is that the end of the clip? I love that Oprah was like, "What do we do, Sonny?"
Oh, Whoopi.
or yeah, what I say, Whoopi.
They're interchangeable at this point.
Yeah, Whoopi was like, "What do we do at the beginning?
What do we do? What's a
tell
girl
us
to
what
do?
to do, Sonny?" And Sonny's like, "We can never forget." And she's comparing it to the Holocaust, which like the last 4 years, if you compared anything to the Holocaust, you were banned. That speaking of the Holocaust, like that event that I went to, Defeat the Mandates in 2022, early 2022, that was a 4-hour event. Many speakers, musicians, everybody. The one thing that the mainstream media took out of that whole thing was a clip of RFK Jr. comparing what was happening to the Holocaust. He mentioned it like at least, he said something like at least Anne Frank could hide or something like that. And that was the one clip that they took. So, you know, obviously when Sonny says, you know, January 6th is up there with the Holocaust, it's just going to go over all these people's heads. But, you know, I saw that earlier today and I was like, that's what you're going to compare to the Holocaust and not the last 4 years where people were ostracized and segregated, literally called diseased, and put in camps and quarantine rooms and
told
marked.
That they should never leave their homes ever. Told that they were responsible for killing everybody's grandma. Told that they were the ones. God, I had multiple people. I remember blaming specific. And I will never forget. I was at a nail salon with my mother-in-law Christmas Eve. I think it was 21. And we were not wearing our masks. Like we had them down around our chins and we were just sipping coffees the entire time we were getting our nails done. Like we were being like, oh, it's funny how it just takes me so long to finish a coffee these days, you know? And this one woman was getting so pissed. And then at the end, I called her a Karen under my breath and she heard and she came back to yell at me and she's like, it's your reason. You're responsible for the pandemic. Yeah, you're the reason the pandemic is still going.
Diseased vermin.
Yeah.
You belong in a quarantine camp.
She yelled at me and oh my God, it was wild. It was a whole brawl.
Yeah. And we you know, if I was to sit down and talk to Sonny about all this, she'd be like, you know, we got to move on from that. Okay. That was 4 years ago. We've got to move on now.
Yeah.
Which is the irony of the whole thing.
The COVIDians, the leftist brainwash types, they want what's it called? They want amnesty for COVID. They want to be forgiven. Well, it was a crazy time. We all were confused. Oh, but do we have a better understanding of January 6th at this point? Oh no. They're gonna stick to that crusty old CNN narrative that it was the worst day ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the first time, I can't remember who said it. It was some high profile like leftist politician or media person on Twitter, but she made the 9/11 comparison. She's like, worse than 9/11. I was like, people on 9/11 had to make the decision to either die in a burning building or jump to their death. Like, how many people on January 6th had to do that? 0.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's par for the course, I guess.
It just bothers me. You're like, oh, all these cops were attacked and that's how they died. It's like, no. Couple of them had heart attacks because of their own health issues. Okay. Like people were not murdering cops out there.
Yeah. No, I have this clip of that I keep sharing. It's of this guy. He's wearing a red MAGA hat and he goes up to some officers and he's like, what are you doing standing there? Why aren't you helping these people? And all the cops are just standing there like, like there's no urgency. There's no rush to save the day. So it couldn't have been that bad, right?
Yeah, because the cops like, oh, I thought people were just trying to use the bathroom in there.
Yeah, right this way, everybody. The bathrooms are down the hall and to the left.
Yeah, I know the feeling. When you gotta go, you gotta go, guys.
We understand. Yeah.
Let's see. Every time you're here, I always want to plug your new music. Let's see. This is a good one. Liars, Cheats, and Crooks. What inspired this song?
This song, you know, I wrote this song like 3 years ago and I held on to it, and it made sense to put out this year because it was an election, or last year because it was an election year. And I want this song for anybody who's watching. My hope and wish is that this song gets to #1 before the inauguration, because the whole song it's like an anthem, right? To boot out all the liars, cheats, and crooks. And so I had a good time putting this song together with some of the guys from the band The Defiant, if you follow them. But they're like a super group of guys that got kicked out of their former bands. So Pete Parada from The Offspring played drums on this, and Greg Camp, who used to be in Smash Mouth, he produced it. And so it's really cool to work with them on this. But I really like the way this came out. And then I used a bunch of like old stock footage from educational films to make the video, and it turned out pretty nice.
And I've never seen it before. Here we go.
You want me scared, you want me weak, you want me brain dead and asleep. You want us trapped while you all laugh behind the scenes. You want us sick, you think we're dumb. You want us blind and you want us drunk. You want us poor while you get more of everything.
Oh, I love this.
But you don't get to tell me what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell me what is true. You're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so I don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes, and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. You want us tricked, you want us numb. You want us scared and you want us dumb. You want us shot and you want us bought in every way. You want our minds, you want our time. You want us framed up in your crime. I hope you know that it's time to go and we're taking names. Cause you don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell us what is true. Cause you're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes, and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes, and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. Want you out, we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. We say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we say la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies.
Wow, I love it.
Thanks.
Is it awkward to listen to your own music?
Sometimes. But I liked reading the comments. Thank you. Yeah, I debuted that song last year in Switzerland, in Geneva. I was there for a protest rally in front of the United Nations building. And so it was a
Ooh.
good opportunity to play that. That was like a highlight from last year, and came home and recorded it and then put that video together, and there it is.
Very cool. Yeah, the whole time it reminded me of that old school, like, let's go out to the kitchen for a snack, like the thing they play
Oh,
during the movies, or it was like, let's
yeah.
go out to the lobby.
Right. Yeah, I went through so many of those clips. I don't even know. I had like several hundred of those old little educational government
How
films and
long did
stuff.
that take, and where did you find that stuff?
I think I scoured the Internet Archive website. They have so much stuff there, but yeah, all those videos, they take a long time to do. But like, I don't know if I could hire anybody to do those for me, because I get so tuned into what I'm doing, the rhythmic editing of this stuff. And if you've seen like my other videos, like Sad Little Man or This Just In or Gates Behind the Bars, they're like animated videos. So there's just a lot of detail, and I get real nerdy and put stuff in there that you want to go back and look for the second time around. And it's a labor of love.
Have you ever heard of a singer or a band? I don't know if it's called Mika.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like how the upbeatness of that song kind of reminded me of them. I'm trying to give a compliment, but it's just, yeah, he's British. I don't know.
Well, then thank you so much. It didn't mean anything till you said he was British.
I don't. I'm like listening to it. I'm like, who does this kind of remind me of?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, I'm glad you like it. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing it with everybody. So go download that and make it #1 on the iTunes. My buddy Viva Fry, he uses that for his intro on his show when he goes.
Yes, we love Viva Fry. He is wow. We should get his take on. He's a Canadian. Who are the Canadians in our lives right now? Frankie McDonald. I think Lauren Southern. Canada, they all must be very excited right now because Mr. Justin Trudeau is stepping down.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I never thought I would see the day.
No, where did that come from? Because it was kind of like he's just still being over there being Justin Trudeau, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, he might resign.
Yeah. I'm like, was it even his time? What's happening?
Over the holidays,
long past his time.
I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family.
Remember that clip of somebody like passing him in was it a ski chalet or something? And they were like, they went up to him like they were gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so happy to meet you. Instead, they were like, we hate you.
Oh yeah,
nobody likes you.
There's so many great clips. Yeah.
Course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about
I was
the
eating a
that I'm
filet
sharing with
mignon
you today. I intend to resign as party leader.
Long pause. Long pause.
After the party selects its next leader
It
through
can't
a
be.
robust nationwide
Can't leave us,
competitive
Justin.
process. Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect. And,
he says this all like someone is going to care.
Yeah.
Like what he's saying is so
Guys,
important.
it's me. It's Justin Trudeau.
With an important message.
I
hope you're all sitting down.
Yeah. Sit down, guys. Listen, did you see the clip where right before he walked out, his papers blew away? It's so funny. Like they just like it's just a straight on shot. He's not out the door yet, walking down, and the papers just go.
That is, I have to find it.
So maybe he was winging it there, like he had something better to say, and then he was like, over dinner last night, I was with my kids, and we decided it would be good for me.
Yes, his speech blew away. I wonder if it just wasn't up there when he took the stage.
Mm-hmm. It's just the clip. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
Bye.
No.
I'm just page by page.
And then he
What
comes out right after.
is there like an
And he-
intern who has to collect the pages of his speech like a
he's like,
ball
oh,
boy
yeah, I
at
know.
the US Open?
Yeah. Isn't that so funny? Oh
Isn't that
no.
funny? That's like a God moment right there. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're on your own, buddy.
Yep. Do you think
Off the
let's watch
dome.
let's see his face. Oh, there it is. He's like, oh crap.
So he just reads the end. And in conclusion,
He's like, let me hone in on my high school drama club act improv class for the rest of
yeah,
this.
I'm gonna yes and this speech.
I
What a
love,
dork.
yeah, because he is so like he's so
Smug.
just smug. Like, yeah, it comes out. We thought about it, and he does a long pause before he goes, I'm going to resign. Did you hear me, Canada?
Dry your tears, ladies.
Yeah,
Are you
and
ever gonna
everybody's
get
like,
another? Are you ever gonna get another leader as good looking as me? I doubt it.
gosh, yeah. So who is up next in Canada? Because I see the Canadians are like, it's going to be this other lady, and she's just as bad. So
Yeah, I've heard that too. It's
yeah,
alright.
it's good though, because like I watched. Speaking of another great protest rally, I watched the trucker convoy like live as it happened. I was so into it because I was like, this is how it's done. You show up and you make a bunch of noise and annoy the crap out of them. And then he ran away. Like, I'm like, your citizens showed up to talk to you. And they're not being violent. They're saying, listen to us. Listen to us. And then he ran away from them and didn't talk to him. And then he sent out the police. But that was an amazing thing to watch, because the Canadians that were there were posting their clips as it happened in real time. And so you would see the bounce houses and what was happening and the peace circles. And it's just like this lovely thing that was happening. And then Trudeau comes out and the mainstream media of Canada tells you that there's these terrorists, and it's just completely like, it's like terrorist level activity, and it needs to be shut down. And these people are doing criminal things. And it's just mind blowing that that we live in a day and age where people are at these events, just like January 6th and everything else. Like, people are at these events real time, posting their clips for everybody, the rest of the world to see. And then the mainstream media is like, let us tell you what happened. And it's completely not what happened. But the fact that we live in a world where that is the case, and still so many people will be like, well, it was on the news. The news said it was this way, and so I'm going with them. Yeah. Even though I have the entire internet over here that I can do my own research on and look up the clips and see what happened, I'm going with these guys. Like,
right.
I can't.
And this is all happening like simultaneously while a nation or a world is kind of waking up because of COVID, like waking up about the mainstream media in their respective countries, waking up about big pharma, like the medical complex. But you're still going to believe what they're telling you about January 6th. It's just like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
But I wonder if, I don't know, the next time they try to do a January 6th, is it not going to go down the same way? Are people, I don't know. Do you figure more people will wake up? It's going to be just a little bit harder for them to.
I think so. I think over the last 4 years, like, not enough people have woken up, but I think a lot of people have woken up. And once you get to that side, like, you don't go back to it. It's not like you're like, I noodled around a little bit and waking up to questioning what was on the TV, and I questioned, what I was being told by the government. But you know what? I think the government does have nobody goes back over to that side. It's like, I think the government does have my best interest in mind. Like, once they get over to that side, they're here. And so, whatever compliance, like say they got out of COVID, that for that first 2 weeks, that 6 months of COVID, like that's the best they'll ever get in a situation like that. It'll never be that good for them ever again. So, my hope is, I think that they just continue to reveal themselves over and over again, and people that have a problem processing it, because they're just either, maybe they're naive or they can't compute how the system works against them. I don't know. It's a tough thing for a lot of people to swallow, but I think like the more that they keep doing this stuff, and the more you ask questions, I found like that's the best way to get, like, you don't have to argue with people, just ask them questions. Like when people, like when you say January 6th, you compare it to the Holocaust or 9/11, and then say, well, can you show me all of the carnage that happened compared to it? They have nowhere to go. Or like, I had a friend during COVID that was like, he lived in New York, and he was like, you're not seeing the bodies being put inside the freezer trucks and all of the space that's taken up in Central Park. And I was like, well, show it to me. Can you show it to me? Because maybe I'm missing something. And then he never showed me anything. So that, like, this mainstream media push to, they make these things out to be these huge events of tragedy, and really, it's all just fear mongering, and it's insanity, though. I don't understand why anybody at this point in 2025, like why there aren't more people that have woken up, but
yeah,
here we are.
Here is the video of the, thank you, Fieldy. Here's the video of the fed up Canadian bumping into Trudeau on this was his Christmas ski trip.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the fuck out of BC. Yeah, you suck.
I'm going to go now. I never saw that. Wow, that's great.
Watch it again.
Yeah.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the fuck out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, man.
Yeah, you suck.
You suck.
You suck. Wow.
Wow.
That must feel great.
Yeah, I love videos like that.
I wonder where. I wonder what mount. This looks like, I don't know, some ski mountain somewhere.
It's like, hi, I have a fan. Oh, no, I don't.
Nope, no, I don't. Yeah, she went in. She got the handshake first, the eye contact, and then.
Yeah.
Oop. Just kidding.
The look in his eyes is like, really? Somebody likes me?
Really?
No.
And then you can see.
The look of shame. Okay.
All right.
Have
I'll
a
go
good
back
day.
to my armored vehicle.
Yep.
Nobody likes me.
Yeah. What a douche. Gosh. Poor Justin Trudeau.
Poor Justin. I really feel bad for him. Brad, the whole time I've been watching your shirt, I've been like, what does your shirt remind me of? What does it remind me of? And I finally remembered it. And tell me if you've heard this before, but I think I know where I've seen this shirt before.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, yeah. Is my shirt gold or green?
Chad, tell me, do you think Brad's shirt is gold or gold and white or black and blue?
That's funny.
Tell me now, because I'm seeing black and blue, but maybe I'm colorblind.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to leave it to the internet.
I don't even understand how this even began. Like,
yeah,
is there something was there something wrong with the people that were seeing white and gold?
Well, what do you see in this picture?
So the one on the left is the actual picture, and the one on which one is the real one? I mean, the one on the left is clearly white and gold.
What?
And then the one on the right.
Well, they can Photoshop those colors. Who are we to, say it's not Photoshopped? And
how they identify.
Like some dork was like, I'm going to find the dress and Photoshop it to my preferences and put it out there on Reddit and say, see, it's blue.
We have a Canadian in the chat. Quebec Patriot, thank you for the super chat. Best thing about blackface, what? Blackface resignation, his censorship law project is thus canceled among many other globalist crap. Ooh, congratulations.
Yeah.
4-1 for Canada. You know, it's not too late for you guys to join us to be the 52nd state.
Yeah.
Right? 50.
You know,
how many states do we have?
we have 56,
No,
according
we
to Joe
don't.
Biden.
Oh, right. No, there've been some funny moments. I've really enjoyed watching Kamala Harris forget the Pledge of Allegiance. That was really fun. That was fun for me. 51. Oh, we have 50. Duh. Okay.
Yeah. You know, it is funny though. I was making this observation is, Justin Trudeau resigns. Joe Biden basically, he resigned, stepped down. What's her name? Jacinda Ardern, whatever her name was, in New Zealand. She resigned. We had Cuomo who resigned in New York. A whole bunch of these characters that were telling us what to do resigned. And then when you look back at CNN, which was the main station during all that time, and how much they've restructured since then, and who got let go, because Chris Cuomo got let go, and Don Lemon got let go, and all these.
Chris Cuomo's kind of like rebranding, and I see the other types of shows he's getting on, and I see himself trying, like he's on like PBD, he's getting on these other shows, and I'm like,
yeah,
he truly,
I'm not buying it.
I think he's just trying to worm his way back into the limelight. I think he's just trying to like shape shift his way. He's just saying whatever he needs to say to be relevant again.
He's a professional newsman, okay? He gets his check from saying what's on the cards, okay? Just like Ron Burgundy. And if he's getting paid to say, middle of the road stuff so he can reach both right now, both sides of the argument, he's going to do that.
It reminds me of someone else, doesn't it, Brad? Someone who recently may have blocked you, someone you may have recently triggered. I mean, I may have triggered her as well, but I did not get a block yet.
She didn't block you? She blocked me.
No.
Well, I put her on the spot because I was hounding her. I was reading her posts, and I was
interesting because she is responding, but selectively to, questions or statements that she can easily give like a short answer, or I mean, she's answering with really answering to the important questions that some of us are asking. So it all started 3 days ago because everyone's like, wow, Whitney, you're so based, you're so red, but wow, you're such a hero. Wow, you're on CNN, you're really telling it like it is, you're really sticking it to him, you're really roasting him hard. And I'm going, first of all, these are very milk toast, run of the mill, very safe things to be saying, and especially in 2025. And then I go, wait a minute, where was she like the whole pandemic, the whole lockdown? Everyone's like, well, Chrissy, people are allowed to change their minds, don't you want everybody to come around? The pendulum is swinging back. Isn't this what you want? Like, and I'm like, no. She put no skin in the game. She put no balls on the line. She lost no work. She kept quiet. She promoted the vaccine. I don't know if she got it herself. It really doesn't matter.
Oh, she must have, but yes, it doesn't matter. But
she everywhere she performed, and she's like, well, I performed at a few venues. I performed outdoors for a short time, and I'm like, I bet that was in 2020 before when everything was still shut down, like we all were doing. We all had a time where we were performing outdoors, like in diner parking lots, in backyards and shit like that. So it's like, you don't get any points from me for that shit. And as soon as you could get back into the clubs, as soon as the vaccine was out, so that was like early 21, she's promoting it. She has all these tweets where she's like, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. I'm like, wow, you're not, it looks like you're pushing the vaccine. Okay. And so here I tweeted this out like, hey, Whitney, where were you? Like in 21 and 22, did you say anything about your fans being forced to get vaxxed to see you perform? Did you do a single venue and take a stand against? Did you switch a venue? Did you take a stand against it? Do you regret it now? Glad you got management approval finally in 2025 to give the safest of takes on CNN. Groundbreaking. And then you respond with this, which I think is so apt. I predict 2025 will be the year of the freedom opportunist, where all of a sudden new influencers and advocates who sat quietly in the background the last few years and others suffered the consequences begin to finally step forward and speak out now that it's easier and safe, as the dirty work has already been done for them. I welcome new voices, as any growing movement can expect it, but I personally remain suspicious of any Johnny come lately at this point. And and people go, oh, people are allowed to change their mind. And I just, it's not like we're talking about somebody who's like in their 20s, like dumb, still brainwashed from college, right? I'm like, me and her are like about the same age. I just figure like we had access to the same Alex Jones. We had access to the same internet, the same knowledge of history, and the same, like, I feel like what is basic common sense, because we've all grown up getting a certain kind of vaccine, and now things are very different. And I just, how are some people able to put it together, and some people, there's like a couple of camps. There's like the genuinely confused, and then there's people who are forced into it for their jobs. And I don't shame those people for one moment, because they were put in a horrible position. But I do not appreciate the people who were gung-ho, promoting it every step of the way, shaming people who aren't getting it, and then performing at venues where they force it. And then she goes and says, she's responding like, oh, well, comedians, we didn't have control over what the venues wanted to do. It wasn't our idea. And it's like, bullshit, dude. You could have performed elsewhere, and you had the clout. You're a household name, Whitney. You could have said to these venues, like, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I think anybody in entertainment had an enormous responsibility during that time to set an example. And, I was reading her comments because I love that meme. But yeah, I mean, I've seen it in music, people that come around later and all of a sudden they're like the new based musician or something like that. And that's my initial knee-jerk reaction is, where were you all this time? And the litmus test is, where do you stand now on these things? And that's what I asked Whitney. I didn't really ask her. In fairness, I was reading her comments, and she was saying that over and over again, like, I didn't have control over the venues. And I'm like, yes, you do have control. I shared a little clip of, it was about the Beatles performing in 1964. And it was that the Beatles were supposed to play a segregated show for white audiences only. And John Lennon famously said, I would sooner lose our engagement fee than play segregated shows. We haven't, and we're not going to start now. And that's the power that I'm showing. Like, if the Beatles can do that in 1964, I feel like Whitney Cummings can do that in 2020 and, not use the scapegoat of the venue of there's nothing I can do about it as the venue. There's everything you can do about it. You're the one making the venue the money. You say, these are my requirements. I'm not requiring it. I didn't play any vaccinated only shows during that time. I know plenty of musicians who, when all the venues closed, they took it to the streets to play on the streets for free for anybody who would want to come. And they started busking or doing live events at parks and stuff. There was plenty that you could do, but you chose to play it safe and you chose to comply. And what really irked me about this was that what she's saying here is that she would do it again. She's not coming around saying, like, I know it was is a messed up time. I was confused. I had engagements, and she's not saying that it was a little silly of me to do that. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again. She's not saying that at all. She's saying, look, my hands were tied. It was the venue. What could I do? I don't know, but I haven't learned anything. That's basically what she's saying. She hasn't learned anything. And that's where, that's why I kept poking at her, because if you're going to come around and say all these things, that people like you and I have been saying for 4 years straight, and all of a sudden get all this recognition for being based and aware of things, that's fine. But that's the litmus test is, okay, tell us your view on COVID now. Because if you can't go back to that point and say, look, that was dumb. I've done that with every single celebrity that I've reached out to, starting with Piers Morgan, when he went hard on anti-vax people, call them all sorts of names. And then one day he turns around and he goes, oh, it's so great to get the masks off and do this and that. And I was like, are you going to apologize now for calling anti-maskers this and that? And then he blocked me, right? Which that tells me, right? That tells you right there that they're not interested in the truth. They're just trying to walk back for their own sake, their own safety's sake, their own image and their own job security. And it's not real.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, Whitney, there were people putting their asses on the line. I mean, you know who Jim Brewer is. He took that stance. Eric Clapton, certainly in the music world, household name, who took that stance. Like, if she doesn't know who you are, she doesn't know who I am. It's like, you certainly know who those guys are. And you see people risking work to do the right thing. And it's just why would you force any of your fans to do this? Because that's what you're doing. You're forcing your fans to make that choice, because it was restaurants and it was show venues, basically, right? And I found that there was this one fan of hers that said, oh, I was on the fence, but then I saw my boyfriend got me tickets to see you, Whitney, so I went ahead and got jabbed. And then people were saying, oh, like, that's not a real person. But I looked her up and she is a real person. Here is Whitney Cummings. I wasn't sure about the vaccine. It scared me, but the venue my boyfriend got tickets for like 2 years ago for my birthday said it requires proof of vax. So I went and got it just for her. And here's where I said, I may not be rich and famous or sell out theaters, but this is the exact reason I stood up against the mandates. Because I got shit when I stood up against the mandates. I got people saying, who are you? What you're not even passed at every club. What are you even losing? Like talking down to me, like, you ain't shit, like, you're not big and famous, it doesn't matter. It's like, no, integrity matters. And I did it thinking other people would be like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. And if enough of us do it, we can affect change. And then I have, I hear some people saying, well, what good did it do? You and a few of these comics stood up and refused to perform. Like, did it actually make a difference? Yes, it did. We would have had a vaccine passport right now. If I'm not saying it's all because of me and you, but everyone in their own way, in their own different, industry, fighting back against this is why we don't have a friggin' vaccine app on our phone right now.
Yeah, because it was a lonely time when you made that decision to speak out at first. Like, anybody that made the move to start speaking out, you felt very alone at first. And then you quickly, what that time did was let others know that they weren't alone. That's what happened with me and my music was, I released one song at the time to kind of vent and say something. And it was kind of scary because I hadn't said this stuff in my music before. And then people were finding it, saying, thank you so much for saying these things in your music. That let me know I wasn't alone. So like, you standing up and all these other entertainers that used their platform to stand up, it sent a signal out for others to stand up in their own way, whether they were a teacher or a doctor. Everybody in every community, could stand up in their own way. And that's what it did. And like all these people, these artists that did do vaccinated only shows, comedians and bands and stuff, they did it in the name of caring, right? It was about care. We want to get back to the stage. We care about you and get the shot. But every single one of them, have you gone back and asked how many of you that came out to see me, that got a shot to come see me, have had an adverse reaction to it? How many of you are injured now? You know, Adele was one that was like, I'm not doing any shows and, you know, vaccinated. I'm only doing she was going to do vaccinated only audiences for her Las Vegas thing. Then then her crew got COVID, and then she got COVID or something like that. And it's like, when do you come back around and say, look, I'm really sorry. You know, I'm sorry I put that on my fans. I would never do that. I would never expect anybody to inject something to come watch me sing a song or to tell a joke, you know, or to see a movie or whatever it may be. It's crossing a line, especially when these environments are supposed to be so unifying. You know, to go to a comedy show, it's like you're supposed to just go and laugh with strangers and then go home, or you go to a concert, sing along together and go home. But it became so divisive. It became the opposite of what I think, you know, entertainment is supposed to do.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, have comics like Whitney. And again, I have nothing against her personally. She's great. She's beautiful, successful. But she'll say things like, we're the front line of defense against speaking truth to power. It's the comic's job to be edgy and buck authority. And it's like, you went along with authority every lockstep of the way on that issue. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm not being like, it's not like I'm being a hard ass just to be a hard ass. Like, oh, I could never forgive anybody who took the jab or who promoted it. Like, I know people were confused. People got psyoped. People were, I don't know, not being free.
It's your actions.
Or whatever. But
it's your actions.
But say you're sorry. Yes. Say, man, I was so stupid. I can't believe I trust what I was hearing on the mainstream media. I can't believe I didn't push up against my agents and managers. I could have made a difference, and I was scared too, because I didn't want to lose money. I didn't want to lose gigs. I didn't want to lose my standing in Hollywood. I didn't want to get unbooked from these clubs. Like, be honest.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with like Chris Cuomo. When you're asking me about him, like, he shows up all of a sudden, he's on, what is it, Newsmax now or something, and and then he had that debate on the PBD podcast, and he could not say that he was wrong about anything that he said during COVID, and that's the point. You know, it's like, if you can't have the humility to say, you know, you're more than welcome to come back around and say, you know, yeah, Joe Biden's old, they should have kicked him out. Like, oh, that's edgy now, right? Or CNN's viewership is down. That's funny. But like, go ahead and tell those jokes. That's great. But that's the litmus test for me, at least, is, okay, now call out Big Pharma and how ridiculous all that time was. Because the reason why that time period is so important is because it affected every single person in the entire world. And I hate the idea that we're going into 2025 with not a single person held accountable. And that generally people's mindset is, well, it was a few years ago, so we've got to move on from it.
It's like, no. We can't go into this next pandemic without clearing up.
I know, because they're already doing that. We've got a pandemic on the horizon.
We can't move on to the next pandemic until we clean up the mistakes of the previous pandemic. Here's a clip of Chris Cuomo getting owned on PBD podcast with Dave Smith here.
There was so much talk that they don't want you to take ivermectin. Ivermectin is the way to go. Take it. Joe Rogan got better from ivermectin. And by the way, I don't like what people did to Joe Rogan about ivermectin. I don't like it. You did it. No. Yes, you did. Find the clips. Dude, find the clips. You shamed Joe Rogan. You said he's taking horse dewormer. You and Don Lemon were chuckling at each other about it. I'll go find the clips. You just saw the clips. I'm not chuckling. I'm listening to Don. But no. The clip I'm talking about wasn't on there. And it's absolutely there. Here, do we have it? Hold on. Let's play the clip.
The speed at which they got this.
Drugs for animals and horse.
And people telling them to. Oh my God. What person? You know, you talk about, like, you know, cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin A dewormer? Really?
They are shaming themselves.
That's
No
what
one
it
has
is.
to shame them. They're shaming themselves.
So you're taking a dewormer right now.
This
Chris,
is a
you can't
dewormer.
apologize for that. You weren't being clear that it was
All
this,
right.
and you know that, dude. You're being so dishonest right now, man.
I'm not
You
being
were talking about
dishonest.
ivermectin, the drug. You were not talking about
I
this version of ivermectin. Come on.
I
man.
was.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that insane though? Like I was telling you earlier, like we can have these events. They're all documented. All the receipts are there for these rallies and protests. And then even the people that delivered the propaganda and can see it in front of their face, like Chris Cuomo, the things that he said verbatim, it's all right there. We can pull up the clip like that. And he still is like, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean it that way.
I meant this other thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's where we're at. I don't know how we move forward until people just like, that's the thing I feel. And I feel like if you really honed in on COVID, everything else would unravel from there. All the corruption that you want, who the bad guys are, it all unravels from COVID. And we have to focus on COVID because think about just the first 5 days of January 2025 and all the crap that's already been laid on us in the last few days. Couple of terrorist attacks and bird flu, quademic is on the horizon, and there's never any answers. And so, who remembers Chinese weather spy balloons? At this point,
Right?
And we don't remember, we don't question, we never got any answers out of it. And then we just
all
move on.
about Lizzo losing weight too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's she look like these days?
I don't know. She's probably melted down to an Ozempic puddle.
She's on I was gonna say Ozempic's the hot thing right now.
You know what? There's a lot of accounts of forever diarrhea with people that are having Ozempic. A lot of celebrity diarrhea. In fact, it was Gwyneth Paltrow, one of her, I think, journalist friends, was over her house. This was all over the tabloids. They got Ozempic diarrhea at Gwen's house, and she told everybody. She told Oprah. She told.
That's the secret to Ozempic, is it gives you bad diarrhea, and that's how you lose all the weight.
That's a side effect. That's not like what.
No,
maybe.
that's
might
what
help
it
the weight
is.
loss.
It's just a big old diarrhea drug, and just
yeah.
unload 10 pounds here, and then you're like, hey, look at all the weight I lost.
Yeah, this guy shit on Gwyneth Paltrow's bed. That's what it was in the Hamptons.
God.
Thank you, Courtney.
I didn't hear that story. Wow. See, there's so much good news out there. That's important stuff.
Yeah. And it's like we're not gonna we expect I guess apologies and accountability from the mainstream media, but it's like they're still in charge of it, and they're kind of just they don't want to admit to being wrong, because then it's like, what else were they wrong about? And then they can't continue to be knowingly wrong on things. And it's like, well, we did that because of all of our, big pharma sponsors, and that's commercial.
Look, the big pharma companies were paying for our show. There's nothing we could do about it. Like it's the old Cummings excuse.
Yeah. Ugh. And again, I do not hate. And then the comments like, you're just jealous because you're nobody, and she's famous and getting work. It's like, no, I'm not jealous of her. I'm doing great. I'm very happy in my life.
But you have your soul. That's the difference.
Yeah. I didn't
important.
give anybody myocarditis. I didn't, give anybody a friggin' blood clot.
Well, that's the thing, like I was saying, that you went through that time without putting that pressure on anybody who is following you or coming out to one of your shows. And that, whether she thinks about that or anybody, any entertainer from that time thinks about it, that is the truth. If you required that of your audience to see you, the Foo Fighters were a big example. They did Vax only. Bruce Springsteen was one. They have an obligation to know how many people they harmed through that requirement, through that mandate to watch them perform. And I'm not seeing it. I saw a huge amount of hypocrisy with Neil Young, who, speaking of Joe Rogan, famously drew the line in the sand with Spotify. And he was like, you can either have Joe Rogan or you can have Neil Young. And then
are you?
Nobody chose Neil Young. And then what was so funny about that story, though, is like a year later, Joe Rogan's contract, like, I don't know, doubled in size or quadrupled, and he got all, more money to be on more platforms. And Neil Young, where's his statement going to the other platforms? If he really cared that much about all this dangerous misinformation that was on Joe Rogan's Spotify podcast, why does he not care about Joe Rogan on Apple Music or YouTube? Why doesn't he take his music down from there? And of course,
That's
he
a really
doesn't.
good point.
Yeah. And so, I follow this stuff closely because these people were my heroes at one point, and I've had to let go of all of that. My heroes now are all the people who stood up, all the friends I've made through the last few years who really, we've all been through something together. So, it's just interesting to observe the hypocrisy over and over again. But on the plus side of that, I think that old Hollywood and woke comedy and stuff, it's all dying away, maybe not as fast as we'd like it to, but I think that there's a new era of entertainment brewing from this time. It's like one of the silver linings, that's happening. There's a lot of great podcasts, out now, and media companies on the rise, and other musicians and stuff. So that's exciting.
It is. Yeah. And it's interesting to see like who is, authentic in their beliefs and who's just trying to save face as we move into this new like Trump era. And we have Jim Gaffigan, regrets Trump supporters thinking he was attacking them. They will saying they will never forgive me. I hosted for him once a million years ago. He recently weighed in on his previous anti-Trump social media post. And it's like, okay, is your agent just telling you to put this out here? Or do you actually feel this way? It's hard for me to believe that this is authentic. Saying he regrets that supporters of Trump took his criticism personally. How else were you to take? Gaffigan played he played Tim Walz on SNL. I regret that people think I was criticizing the people that support Trump, and that was never the intention. I regret someone said like, now I can't follow you anymore, and I kind of said F you to them. Yeah, that sounds like how is that a joke? You're telling somebody F off.
Yeah, I was just kidding. That's funny. No, that's like that Saturday Night Live skit from a few weeks ago I saw pop up where they were like, it was like right after the election, and the cast of Saturday Night Live was like, we have a message for Donald Trump. We always liked you. And it was, that was the punchline of the whole thing. And now Gaffigan is like the living example of it. It's like, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm a comedian. You get it? That's my out.
Yeah. And this was, they mentioned his tweets. Gaffigan lashed out at Trump in a series of tweets in 2020. And when he wrote, look, Trumpers, I get it. As a kid, I was a Cubs fan, and I know you stick by your team no matter what, but he's a traitor and a con man who doesn't care about you. Deep down, you know it. I'm sure you enjoy pissing people off, but Trump is a liar and a criminal. In another, he bashed Trump for his handling of COVID, saying, Trump just creates enemies. You can't trust him. He's been incompetent during this crisis. You all know those people didn't need to die. Trump talks about the space program, and you can't safely go to a movie. Wake up. 4 years later, Gaffigan told the outlet his regrets about how the posts were, how they were taken. It's like you're triple, quadrupling down. Wow.
He might as well have written, he could have posted something like, Trump is Hitler. This is not a joke. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, no, I was just joking. Like, you call them, when you call somebody a traitor. Now, I'm not a comedian. I don't know where the joke is there,
Yeah, that sounds like your actual feelings. Gaffigan went on acknowledging that alienating people in such a way is just part of being a comedian. But also something I've noticed in doing stand-up for so long is you're going to lose people. you're also going to attract people, but there are going to be people who are like, you know, I don't have kids. I think he's funny, but I don't get this. You can't have it both ways, Gaffigan. You know, like, did your feelings change on Trump overnight, or you're just like, oh shit, I don't want to lose 50% of a potential audience?
Yeah. Like I still don't get the joke. You know, it's like he's a traitor. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
He's literally Hitler.
Yeah. And like comedians, you are allowed. I mean, I give my actual feelings all the times that aren't in the form of jokes, but like I would never turn around and be like, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that's see, once again, that is somebody who made certain statements and they're all right there, well documented online, and then they just can't face what they have said. And this goes across the board. That's the problem too with the last 4 years. It's like we all have those personal relationships where friends and family were calling you a murderer or dangerous, you know, selfish, you know, murder or whatever it was, all the names, conspiracy theorists, but like it brought out the worst in people. And Trump does that too, brings out like the absolute worst in people. And nobody wants to look at that version of themselves in hindsight and look at themselves in the mirror and go, ooh, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said those things. They all
be like, I had TDS. Like if it's bringing out such a rage in you, like you got to examine that as a person.
Right. Yeah. Like that's what Gaffigan should say here, right? He should be like, he was really like bothering me at the time, like everybody else. And I was ranting and, you know, but I've changed my tune a little bit, you know, he's not such a bad guy or whatever, you know?
Right. Cause it's not like you get fired up like that about every president. It's not, you're just like, man, I hate presidents. It's no, specifically for Trump.
Yeah.
You said these things. Fealty. Whitney is a famous multimillionaire. She didn't financially need the shows. She could have easily chosen unmandated shows and made her money. Her change is a lie. It seems that way.
Yeah.
Matthew Hammond. What did Brad and Craig do together as children? As both of you took quite different routes.
My brother Craig. I think you've been on Craig's Side Scrollers podcast. You've been on Craig's
my God, that's your brother?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I'm sure maybe he told me and I forgot.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah. So Craig and I did a podcast a few years ago together. So he was the video game kid and I was the music kid, and so we just, you know, took those two different routes. Although I've appeared on Craig's stuff throughout the years. I always come back, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Nice little shout out to my bro.
Who's older? Who's younger? Is he?
I'm younger.
Okay.
By 2 years.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
It would annoy me if one of my siblings was kind of encroaching on my internet space a little bit.
Yeah. Is he encroaching on my internet space, or am I encroaching on his?
He's encroaching on yours. No.
No. See, that's the great thing. He's got the video game space.
True.
I am trying to bring common sense back to the music side of things. He's trying to bring common sense back to, I think, video games, which is just as important. I mean, you know, I watch what he's doing, and you know, he's gone through the same stuff. In fact, when we were talking about January 6th, that was what something that came to mind when we were driving back through that rainstorm I told you about. We were listening to the radio. Craig and I were doing a podcast together at the time, and we were like, we're going to do a podcast that's just feel good, no politics and whatever. And then January 6th happened, and we were like, we've got to talk about this. We cannot talk about it. And so then our podcast together sort of slowly became a little bit more political from one episode to the next. And we were both saying things online that our fan bases hadn't heard us say, because we were very middle of the road and behave ourselves kind of people. But as we got more vocal about things, you know, we both, lost fans and got the labels and went through the ringer and stuff. But no, I'm proud of what he's doing. I'm proud of what he's accomplished. And
Nice.
Yeah, we're a good supportive family.
Look at this. Just further proof of where our girl was at mentally between 2020 and 2022. This is from 2020. Bricksuit tweeted this out. Last night, Whitney Cummings, while guest hosting for Jimmy Kimmel, tried to roast me for not wearing a mask. I never wore a mask at Trump rally Tulsa, stood with thousands and shook hands with hundreds. Closest I came to catching anything was the glass that POTUS tossed.
Anyway, have you ever just wanted to drive your car straight into a wall? My guess is he only bought this expensive suit because he was told Mexico would pay for it. Why don't guys just wear masks? What is it helps you. It actually helps you get chicks. Put on a mask. There is a strong chance we'll flirt with you just because we'll think you're a surgeon. It's like seeing a girl in a Hooters shirt, okay? She probably works there. And even if she doesn't, that girl is a party.
Wow.
Could she just be saying that? Maybe.
It's just a joke.
Let's see. What else? Is there further proof? Oh, there is. This is from August 9th, 2021. I refuse to not make this mask mandate fun. And she's retweeting. I watched Whitney Cummings last night at the Mirage. Great show, Whitney. So much laughter. She started her show by personally handing out fun masks to members of the
wow,
audience.
what a rebel. She's so based.
What a badass. Here, I am handing you a mask.
But they're funny masks.
Wow. Ugh.
You see, they're funny. So it was a joke.
Right. It's not a regular vaccine. It's a funny vaccine.
She wasn't complying with ridiculous government rules that made no sense.
Yeah. She's based, guys. She's red pilled.
She's so based. Because did you see the 60 seconds of her on CNN? She's such a rebel.
You can tell by how she read the jokes off the teleprompter that she really meant that.
I know. That's what's kind of disappointing, though, is like I really want people to think about these things moving into 2025. Is like when you see somebody come out of nowhere now and start saying things you haven't heard them say
the whole time. Mm-hmm.
The whole time, you have every right to question their integrity because you just do.
Yeah, that was a whole year after the pandemic, and she was still giving out masks. Yuck.
Oh wow, that was a whole year. Wow.
And here is a schedule of this is from May 2021. See Whitney Cummings live in Houston with her 2021 comedy tour. Get tickets at the Improv. Text tx.com Houston before she sells out. We have temperature checks, masks, private tables, and more.
She saved so many lives, though. And that was the funny thing, too. If you're in the middle of what you believe to be a pandemic and so many people are around the world dying, why even risk it?
Right. Why even get these people together?
Why even do it if it's so dangerous that you have to have temperature checks and masks and tables spaced apart by 6 feet?
Yeah. What if someone has it and they're just not showing it yet, and they stand up and the droplets travel through the air to someone who's sitting down,
Yep. It's a super spreader.
Yeah.
Nobody even talks about that. Like how super spreaders were nothing. Like the whole time that term was being floated around, it was funny because like all these worldwide rallies were happening all around in different countries of thousands and thousands of people gathering in the streets to protest these things. And I'm like, well, certainly, sarcastically saying like, these are super spreader events that are going to drop the bomb on the rest of the world. And nothing ever happened, but still that stuff doesn't click over into the brains of the common.
Yeah. It just bothers me. It's like, you got to have your cake and eat it too. You got to make all your money. You got to stay quiet. You bent the knee and you profited from it. socially, financially.
Why didn't we do that?
Why we were idiots, Brad, to just like turn
Stupid
down
idiot.
work, have scruples. It doesn't pay to have scruples.
I could have made like 5 Pfizer commercials by now.
Mm-hmm.
And then today came around and been like, guys, CNN's ratings are bad. Isn't that funny? I'm based. And people would be like, look at this guy. Look at this guy over here. He's a rebel.
And then she goes and says, and again, she goes, oh, well, both my parents died and I had a kid. What? I understand having a kid can change you, but like that, it doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute with all that.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. See, those are questions that I would poke and prod at. I would say,
like, how? Why?
How? And with your baby, what's the conversation on, the vaccines there with your child? Are you questioning them now?
Right.
Are you going down motherly rabbit holes and maybe you're concerned about what they'll do?
If the excuse is having a kid changed me and I didn't give my kid a single vaccine, then now I'm listening, Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, well, I had a kid and guess what? I gave that kid the 75, required vaccines that are on the schedule, then that's not an excuse. Matthew Hammond, Chrissy's next album, Where Were You 4 years ago?
I like it.
It's a great title. Christmas loving engineer. Thank you for the super chat. COVID doesn't spread only if you're in a mostly if you're in a mostly peaceful protest.
Oh, right. It's all on the vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. COVID attacks based on vibes.
The vibes have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another one. Wow. Thank you to this I believe I did tweet out. This is from the Vic Theater in Chicago. This was her Touch Me tour. Please review our vaccine policy and mask mandate before arriving. Wow, how brave, how stunning. December 11th, 2021.
That's important. If you want to hear my jokes, listen, there's some rules. Review our vaccine policy and mask mandate.
Fight the power, guys.
Yeah. I saw an interesting video of that came up through my feed of babies reacting to their dads who shaved their beards. And the kids were all like scared because they were like, where's my daddy? And so, because, I don't know if you had a mustache dad growing up, but I did in the 80s. And when your dad shaved his mustache, you were like, what the hell did you do?
Yeah, where's your face?
But it made me think about the psychological impact that masks had on babies during that time and all of this younger generation. Because if a baby can react that way to their father, shaving just the lower half of his face and going, oh, I don't recognize you. Like, what is covering it up? And removing that expression altogether.
That's half of the information of your face. That's just gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could watch. I haven't actually seen this yet. These were all the jokes that she was going to say on CNN. Let's see.
New Year's Eve in Times Square. You guys have to stop talking about balls dropping or else the producers on Nickelodeon shows are going to tune out. And we need all the viewers that we can get on CNN. Shania Twain is on the broadcast tonight. Reminds me of this year's Paris Olympics theme. Man, I feel like a woman. This year, people had to go to extreme measures to deal with a tough economy. Mobs of people raided and robbed department stores and groceries got so expensive, I had to thaw my frozen eggs to make an omelet. It was a pretty insane year. A year where 2 people got stuck in space. And I'm not talking about the Trump-Biden debate. In 2024, we had such a brat summer. Even Trump got his ear pierced. In 2024, the media continued to ignore the Maui wildfires. Maui's been mentioned so little. I had to ask myself, could a fire be on an Epstein client list? Ellen moved to England because Trump won. She calls her employees the C word so much that she moved to a place where it's a term of endearment. Smart gal. We were so mentally ill in 2024. Our bright spot was seeing a baby pygmy hippo being abused at a zoo. Dude, justice for Mudang, the Shirley Temple of the animal world. People got in fistfights over Stanley Cups in 2024. People got in fights on planes, except the Boeing whistleblower who lost a fight about planes.
Okay.
If you want to hear more, check out the vaccine requirements and mask mandates.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put myself through much to go see that show, but that's just me. But you know what? You know what I would go through a lot. You know what show I would go through a lot to go see? A Chrissie Mayr comedy show.
Stop it. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah.
And I would go see a 5 Times August concert and jam out. I would.
I did go see you. I saw you in Dallas a few years back. Do you remember that? You
Was
came
that
to Dallas.
at Hyenas?
Yes. And we made it a date night. Me and my wife went out and we saw your show and it was good. But I have a complaint to Hyenas.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry to say this is my main memory from the show. Okay.
Was it the food?
Those nachos were the worst nachos, bar none, I've ever had in my life. And I ordered the nachos thinking you can't mess that one up. But they came and I took a bite and I was like, those are the worst nachos. I can't even finish this.
You're still talking about them all these years later. Yeah,
they scarred me for life.
They left an impression. Oh man, I'm so sorry about that.
That's all right. The comedy was good. The comedy far surpassed the nachos.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I was wondering were you there on the day of the land whale show, which is when I had a bunch of hecklers storm out and knock over my merch table because they were upset that I besmirched their dear Dylan Mulvaney.
No, I wasn't at that one. I did see that clip though. Yeah.
It was fun.
People are crazy.
People are crazy. I'm going to put the link in the chat. We're going to go into, when this is over, we're going to go to Keanu Thompson's live stream, by the way. Oh, good. Yes. Whenever this is over, we're redirecting to Keanu. Tell her Whitney Cummings sent you. That's funny. Brad, thank you so much for coming on. I'm just such a fan of you, and not because we agree on certain things, but just you're a great person as well. And
well, thanks. That's nice. You're a great person. You know what? I just now realized at the end of the show, my handle at the bottom says 5.
No! Oh no! I'm so embarrassed. 5 Times August. It's I feel like my mom.
It's okay. It's been right here the whole time anyway, so it's okay.
My mom would get basic things wrong like that too. She would say, "Oh,
easy,
sorry, I haven't downloaded your email yet."
I downloaded your email. Yeah. No, it's all good. No, this was fun. 5 Times August. That's my other act.
Good chatting with you, Brad. Any upcoming shows or things people can look out for? Oh, your sale, your website.
Yeah. Sale. I've got a big clearance sale going on my website. I was gonna end it at the end of the year, but I'm letting it ride for a little bit just because I've got a garage full of merch I want to clear out. But if you like records, CDs, and cassette tapes, check out 5timesaugust.com and own your music and have it and hold it and play it, put it on the turntable and enjoy it. So check that out.
This is great because if you drive an old car like I do, get those cassette tapes and just
that I love that message. I've got some fans that have bought the cassette and they're like, I listened to this in my old truck, and I'm like, I love that. That's the whole reason I even bothered making a cassette. So next is 8-track, and maybe I'll put out some music videos on Laserdisc, but right now it's cassette and CD and records. But yeah, check that out. Everything is on the lowest prices of all time. And I ship them out from me to you. So.
And you have a new song called Counterfeit World out. Check that out, guys. All of the things.
Yeah, check it out.
Oh, look, a fun shirt.
I've got shirts. I've
I wear
got,
that to the gym.
yeah, I've got all the things.
Wow. Oh, well, look, it's you and laying down in the leaves. I love that.
Yeah, that's 2007, Brad. My wife took that picture, actually.
I like
We
that.
had just bought a camera and she did a test shot, and we were like, that's cool. And then that became the album cover of that record.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
And then your wife made you rake the leaves, and
she's like, all right, now get up.
now put them in a bag.
Yep. So, yes,
Awesome.
ma'am.
Everybody go to 5timesaugust.com. Get your cassettes and CDs.
Yeah.
Get your t-shirts. Check out the stuff.
Yeah,
Brad,
wear them
thanks
to
for
the
coming
gym.
on. Wear it to the gym. Or just
Yeah.
wear it sitting on your couch. Matthew Hammond says another title, Comedy Time Machine, No Mask, No Vax. Or how about No Mask, No Vax, No Service? I don't know. Deranged Lunatic says, Brad, can you get your cassette on K-Tel Records?
I don't know if they're still around.
I've never heard of that. I don't understand that reference.
Okay.
Thank you guys for watching. Everyone follow Brad on Twitter at 5timesaugust or X, whatever you guys are calling it. I'm probably never going to call it X.
It's Twitter. In everybody's heart, it's Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Well, thanks so much.
This was fun. Thank you to the chat for your comments and questions. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
All right.